talk on migration. And my talk will look at migration from a micro perspective, because most discourse on migration only look at it from the macro, but ignoring what happens on the ground. So what I'll talk today is about migration at the micro level, and I will not talk on behalf of the whole of Africa, because I can't. So I'll just focus on Cameroon. And I titled my presentation, "In Document We Trust." Is it? Okay, good. So I'll be exploring the relationship between aspiring migrants and migration brokers, specifically in Anglophone Cameroon. In Cameroon, there is this Cameroonians, they feel like they've been trapped. So they have that need to get out. It's like an obsession. And they started migrating out of Cameroon early in the 90s because there was this crisis of devaluation. The franc CFA dropped drastically, and then salaries were slashed. So like 70% of the civil servant salaries were slashed. This forced many civil servants, especially heads of household, to look for greener pastures elsewhere. And some of them went for work, some went to study, some returned back home. So there was this prestige when you come back home, they'll refer to you as someone who has been to. So it was very prestigious back then. But then later on, Cameroon, we got the color TV and then access to the internet. And that kind of opened Cameroonians to the world. They got visual images of what the people living on the other side of the world, how they live and stuff. And then there was and there is still high youth unemployment, corruption, and currently war. This has instilled in Anglophone Cameroonians, or Anglophone Cameroonians in specific, the obsession to do what has been termed bush folly. And now the question is, what is bush folly? Bush folly it's basically, most Cameroon is still like an agricultural, or most Cameroonian societies are agricultural. So the head of the household, he will go to the bush to hunt for game, and then he will bring it back home like a trophy. So that's how he provides. So bush folly refers to the term of going to the bush to get game or trophy, and then you bring it back home. Now take it to another level. Coming to Europe or the US or any developed country is seen as bush, because while you're there, you be sending remittances home again. So those who fall bush, they are now those who travel abroad. Excuse me, I'm using the term bush falling or bush fallers, are now called bush fallers. So it is something which is very prestigious, and when you are abroad, the people back home, when they look online, they see these amazing photos of you. They still have that obsession of falling bush. But migration is something which it is very difficult for Cameroonians to migrate. So they need what we call facilitators or brokers. So in come the migration brokers, aka Document. There are many names, but I chose Document for a specific reason. In the course of my talk, I will differentiate the different types of migration brokers. These people are called Document because they specialize in producing papers needed for migration. If you want to travel abroad for studies or work or whatever, you need to prove like that you have accommodation, you have bank account, made air reservation, ticket reservation, etc. But Cameroonians, we don't we don't trust the banks, so we use these microfinancial institutions. And embassies don't recognize financial statements from these institutions. So you have to look for somebody who has like a Visa card that can do ticket reservations for you, or someone who has a bank account that can provide you with a bank statement and an affidavit of support. So this is what Documents do. Now they have expanded competence their role to include other things like looking for opportunities for aspiring migrants. So they use words like lines, programs, openings. These are the terms that they use in Cameroon. Somebody will walk up to you and say, hey, you know what? I have a line in China, or I have a line in the UK. So this is another way of saying that there is an opportunity to travel to the UK. The line could be for job, it could be for studies. And one very interesting thing is the lines can close very fast. So when someone tells you that there's a line somewhere, you have to act really fast. And there is another very interesting term called a direct line or a headline. This is a program that does not require you to go through the embassies. The person will come up to you and say, hey, I have a headline somewhere. They need someone probably in the UK to pick tomatoes, or in Italy for this amount of time, or this period. And you have to pay. The prices of the line depends on the destination country. Countries like Canada and US, you have to pay like 5,335 euros. This is my own conversion. In France, CFA is like 5 million CFA. If it's in somewhere anywhere within the EU, you pay like 4,000 euros. China and Dubai, 3,000 euros. South Africa, it's 1,500 euros. So people have to act upon these lines and programs and headlines. But the fact that you're using these headlines does not guarantee that your bush falling program will be a success. So it's risk taking. And because of this, the proliferation of documents in Cameroon, and also we know that the EU is trying to reduce illegal migration from sub-Saharan Africa to Europe. Most embassies have decided to do what I call wage a war against this document, because through their public relations program in schools, radio, and even TV programs, they're trying to sensitize the youth or aspiring migrants about the dangers of using documents. You have it's like, I remember I got this when I was still in Cameroon, in front of the US Embassy at the notice board. Beware of documents, they are hurting your future. Protect yourself, protect Cameroon. Stop the document. All this language, it gives one the impression that documents are like smugglers, migrant smugglers. So they're either criminals or businessmen, and they therefore facilitate migration from Cameroon. But despite this war against document, despite the fact that falling bush is risky, people still trust the document. So it is like I call it, maybe it's a perfect Tinder match. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the app Tinder. I use Tinder, perfect Tinder match, because there are a variety of documents. You now have to just swipe and choose which one you feel you can trust. There is no guarantee that the document you choose is a good one. You just have to, go with your gut feeling. So both aspiring migrants and documents, they see migration as something that they can make money from. An aspiring migrant, he or she wants to travel abroad. He knows that. They know that they're going to make money and send back home to their family. The document knows that he's going to make money from the aspiring migrant. And as such, they both also gain social status. Because when you travel abroad, it is not only physical mobility, it is social mobility as well. When a document successfully sends someone abroad, he gains money and also he gains reputation. So then there is no clear-cut line between aspiring migrants and migration brokers. This is because most of the time, these documents, they are also aspiring migrants. There are people who have tried many times and have failed, and now they're selling their services. So probably later on try again to fall bush. So since migration is something that requires money, document can be aspiring migrant without A document can be just document, as well as document can be failed aspiring migrants. So there is no clear-cut line between the two. And then another thing is, documents are considered more powerful with international connection. The way these people talk, they can give you the impression that they just have to call the ambassador of whosoever, whichever country, and you get your visa. So they believe people believe they have strong international connection, and they can obtain visa easily. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they get the visa. Sometimes they do fail to provide visas for their clients, but the perception that these people have strong international connection, it still lingers in the mind of aspiring migrants, failed ones, and even, I would say, even returnees, people who successfully migrate. They're deported, they come back home, and they still have the will to migrate. They will still use document. So failure, as I said, is common, but document or migration brokers, they are seen as expert in their field. So people still keep trusting them with huge sums of money. Now the question is, why should we trust you with our money and our future? The thing is, the failure of a document to obtain visa for his client is not substantially different from the failure or from the rejection of an embassy to give visas to a client. They're seen as the same thing. If a document cannot secure your visa, it's the same as an embassy has rejected your visa. So people would rather choose the document because they also believe that there is more this personal relation. The document understands where they're coming from. The people in the embassy, they don't care. So people fear the embassies, as migrants fear embassies. And then also the people trust documents because they enable mobility of Cameroonians through provision of necessary documents, looking for lines. It's like you are in jail and then there's somebody with a key to open up the door for you. So that's how people look at document. And people also believe that document protects them against bad intentions in bush, because this document they give you, they don't only tell you about that they have a program or a line. They also try to give you, information about where you're going, who you might meet there. They'll tell you that, oh, there are lots of Cameroonians over there. You can go, you join the Cameroonian community, they'll take care of you and stuff like that. So they kind of like offer a safety net of protection against any potential bad thing that may happen to you in bush. Now, the next thing is in what and whom not to trust. First is what we call fairmen. Now, fairmen, there are also migration brokers, but these are just con artists, they are just trade businessmen. They will ghost you, that is, they'll take money from you, give you all hopes, and then suddenly you don't hear from them. So your money is gone, your dreams are crushed. The next institution that you shouldn't trust are the embassies. They are not your friends, really, because you may have a genuine program, a scholarship or whatever, have all the necessary documents, and then you go to the embassy and they just look at you in your face and they say no.
You don't have any photo or any images of this payment?
No, I couldn't. They're just normal people like you and me. But so you cannot differentiate who is a document and who is a fake man. You can only know at the end, if you get your visa, because the document, they're like, the genuine ones will guide you throughout the process. But the fake man will take your money, and then you don't hear from him again. He's gone. Most of them, they do what we use the term knock stick, that to knock a stick. It means that they're no longer there. And they say embassies are worse than the fake men. Because with the fake men, if you get hold of them, you can sue them, There's a provision in our penal code that talks, this is what we call stealing by false pretense. So if you get hold of the fake man, you can drag him or her to court. But you can't do that to an embassy. So embassies are worse than fake men. The next people or institution not to trust are your friends and family. Yeah. Because I come from a place where the belief in witchcraft is still prevalent. So there are instances of sudden death, loss of travel documents. Suddenly you wake up and you can't find your passport, and then there is a need of secrecy. Most Cameroonians, I don't know if the situation has changed, they're talking to some friends, it still happens. They don't tell you that they're traveling abroad. You can be with your friend, you out having lunch together, but he has already bought his flight ticket and he's leaving in the evening. He won't tell you until when he gets to his destination and settles in. That's when he informs that, oh, I'm here. If you look at, we say if you don't see somebody for 1 week, that person has fallen bush. So these are the people or institutions that you trust, your friends and your families, the embassies, and the family. Now, in sum, from everything I've said, most discourse on migration target migration brokers and migration smugglers and traffickers. But in Cameroon, we don't see document as smugglers. We see them simply as facilitators. So whether you call them smuggler or traffickers, it will depend on which human rights law they're breaking. If it's the international human rights law, okay. But in Cameroonian law, there's nothing that will punish them. And then another thing is, the more migration is made difficult and state actors criminalize migration, the more we see the emergence of these document and women in Cameroon. And in Cameroon, migration services are high, the commodities in high demand. Like I mentioned, because we don't believe in banks and all these other financial institutions, so these people provide us with the necessary documents. So profit is not the only factor that guides the power structure dynamic between a migration broker and an aspiring migrant. Trust is a very important factor. If somebody comes to you for migration services, it's because that person trusts you. That person has heard about you from other person who's successful migrants, and that's why the person is soliciting your services. And yeah, so if you want to follow bush, you just have to follow the signs. You find the signs everywhere in the capital city of Cameroon. You see words like bushfaller bar, bushfaller drinking spot, get an instant Dutch passport. You see Holland passport. So it's everywhere. Even people who, I remember back then, there was an association of students from the University of Yaoundé. They created an NGO that wants to fight against illegal migration and migration in general. They just want to fight against migration because it's causing brain drain in the country and stuff. But then later on, it turned out that this same group were assisting people to fill visa applications or, get them documents to travel to Europe legally. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you. I'll be looking forward to